We're going to go over the different types of scanning so that when you actually get on the pitch, you know what to do, you know what to look for, and you know how to use your scans to become an effective player and make better decisions. So the first type of scanning is something I call a general scan. And now the reason I call it a general scan is because you can do this without the ball, with the ball, you can do it anywhere on the pitch, even if the ball is over here. So say you're this midfield player in this area and the left back has the ball. You can still do your general scans here because what a general scan is just getting an understanding of what the game is like, what sort of movements are people making, what sort of movements are your teammates making, the other team making, just so you have an understanding of what the picture of the game is. Because if you've watched football on TV, you've probably heard get a picture of the game. Some players have very good pictures of the game in their head. They can imagine things. And so that is really what we're trying to develop here. So every couple seconds, every like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 3 seconds, whatever sort of rate you want to go with, just have a look over your shoulder just to see what actually happens in the game. And this is not me saying just look over your shoulder just for the sake of it. No. You're looking over your shoulder so you can see where people are depending on the context of the game. So just a quick example. Let's say we're trying to play at the back and we're the blue team. Right? We're going to focus on this midfield player. And the white team are pressing high, maybe in like a 4-2-4 or something like that. And obviously we've got our team in a good shape as well. And this is where you should be scanning to see how do they press me? What types of people come and press me? How do they press me? How close they get? How much space they leave behind? So say you notice that this guy follows you very, very close. You're scanning, you see he follows you very, very close. That's something that you've developed in the game, and you can see, does he do it again? Does he do it again? Does he do it again? Let's say in the first 10 minutes, you see that he's very, very tight to you. Now, that's something that you've noticed, but that means that you have to use that information and try and create an understanding of what that means elsewhere. So now that you've got that, you can say, well, that leaves lots of space behind. And so when the ball comes, you do another check just to check he's there, and then say, I know he's going to leave space behind because he always presses really high, and I can turn. Very rarely is it we obviously see on TV, we see they scan once and then they turn. That is typically what does happen, but that's because they've scanned 6, 8 times before that to see that there's lots of space in this area before. So even in one of these situations, if you are a left winger and your right back has the ball, scans can still be important. It's not always in the middle of the pitch checking behind your shoulder. It could sometimes just be looking in front of you, maybe looking to the right or left a bit to see, okay, what is actually going on here. Because if we focus on this area, we can see that okay, there's a lot going on in terms of positioning of players. But you could also have a look behind you to say there's a lot of space here, and that is something you've noted. You could say that now I know that these defenders really shift over, and that gives me a lot of space. So when the ball gets in this area again, I know that maybe I can come out wide and receive the ball over the top. And that's happened because you've scanned. If you are of the mindset and you said that I'm only going to scan when the ball's close to me, so I'm only going to stand here, yes, you still might make that run. But now that might take you an extra 2 seconds because you just checked and realized there's space. If you check before here, you can start making that run out wide. By the time the ball comes, you can get even wider and get the ball. So scanning is important in all phases of play and all positions. So don't just think it's something for midfielders because a lot of times when we watch videos online or even see it in games, it's the midfielders that analyze. Midfielders have to scan to check their shoulder just to receive the ball from the defense and play at the back. And that is very important. It's probably the most important scan that you have to make. But every other position has to scan as well. Centre backs have to scan. Even if you can see everything in front of you, have to look left, have to look right. You have to understand what is going on. So even here, Bernardo Silva is doing a general scans when he gives the ball back to Rodri because he's gaining a sense of the position and how the ball is around him and how the teammates are around him when he gets in that area. So that when he gets in that area again later on in the game, he actually knows what he can do and what type of options he generally does have. So the aim for that first section was to help you realize that general scans that just happen even when you don't have the ball, when the ball's not close to you, is to develop a picture of the game. So whereas if you're a left winger, where is the right back most of the time? Where's the winger most of the time, the midfield player? How much space am I typically going to get? So you might notice that you are always left in the middle of this sort of triangle. That's some information that can help you now when the ball comes closer to you. Right? If you're a midfield player, this is again something you can notice how people pressing me. You know, how much space is there for my other players? How much space do I have to dribble to pass? And now the second type of scan is more specific and there's subsets of them. So the second type of scan is something I call the decision scan. And in the decision scan, there's the critical scan, which is quite popular online. It's something that's been spoken about a lot. And there's also a couple other scans within that. So a critical scan is basically if we were to go to like a midfield example, because it's probably the most easiest to explain there. A critical scan is the last scan that you make just before you receive the ball. Let's have a very basic example. Let's say that You've done all your general scans, you have a general understanding of what the picture is going to be like. But then you do your critical scan as the ball is being played to you, and you notice that this player is free. You notice that this player is free. So as the ball is being played, you make your scan, and you see that this guy's free, so you play that first time ball in. That's really what the critical scan is for. You've still got your basic picture, so you still kind of know where everyone is, but it's just that extra piece of information on top just to say, okay, what can I do with my next touch? And it's also just to say, is anything changing? Again, we've built a picture with our general scans, and that picture is maybe like 80% complete, and most of the time it's going to stay like that. But there are lots of times, maybe even more than, no, maybe even more than like 10 to 15%, where the picture changes every couple seconds. So the critical scans are just to confirm our action. We should not be deciding what we're meant to do by the time we make our critical scan. That critical scan is to confirm what we're going to do, or if there's a sudden change, just change it and maybe do something safer or turn another way. So I'll give you an example. So in terms of decision scans, maybe we're going to have around 3 to 4 scans just to get a sense of how the game is looking. So we've had our general scans and we've seen that overall I get maybe like a 3 versus 1 in the middle of the pitch. I have to work my way around that. We've got that. Now the ball's coming, so you're now our decision scans are saying, okay, where's the space? And when you're making your decision scan, you're looking for two main things. Where's the space and what players are in the space? So you might see that, okay, there's space here, there's space here. Maybe if I can get the ball, I can play a pass into one of them. Or you might say that, okay, these guys are blocked off, maybe they're pushing really, really high up, and I haven't got much space, so that means if I get the ball, I have to play back, or maybe I have to try and turn. Or you might be confident and you say, you know what, there's space in the middle here, if I get the ball, I'm just going to turn. So your decision scans are just trying to make a more solid picture of what you already got from your general scans. And then the critical scan is confirming that solid picture. So let's say you've decided that, okay, the ball's coming here, and you've made your couple scans. So let's say you've looked here, then you've looked here, then you've looked here, and then you've even seen here, this is in front of you, saying, okay, there's not many options here. If I turn, yes, I have space, but I'm not going to do anything there. So your decision is I'm going to turn here and try and play a pass into this player. So there's your decision scans. Then the ball actually gets there. Again, you're taking a couple more looks. And as the ball's getting played, you've made your critical scan just to check one more time. And then you go. If for some reason you make a critical scan and you see that this guy actually comes to press very, very, very tight, then you're going to say, okay, you know what, I have to change. Maybe you turn this way and shield the ball and play it back. Or maybe, you tell this guy comes and sets, and then you see that this guy is obviously free now, so you play that pass. So that critical scan is just that final decision to say, okay, has anything changed from my initial picture? So now Bernardo Silva has made all of his general scans throughout the game. This is about the 15th minute. So he's got a general understanding of what the picture looks like. So now this is about making your decision scans. There's a good chance that he gets the ball because the ball is going from left to right. So he's making his decision scans. And just before he receives the ball, he makes his critical scan just there. And now it's about how can I perform my action? Am I going to shoot, pass? And then he goes on and scores. Okay, so now we've obviously shown you the clips and we've shown you a couple of tactical scenarios. So we're just going to confirm everything that we went over just quickly, just to make sure that everything's clear and you can actually use this in a game at your practice session or in games in general. So the first type of scan that we're going to be making is a general scan. So this is like for the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game, you're going to be making lots of general scans. And as the game goes on, you're going to have more information, but we're still going to be making general scans. And your general scans are just to say, okay, what type of players are around me? What's the shape like? How are people pressing me? So if you're a midfield player, you were saying, I'm looking around, seeing how these players are playing. What's the positioning like? How am I getting pressed? What is the positioning of my teammates? So you might notice, like Bernardo Silva did, that the wing backs are quite close to me, so there's always going to be an option. So even you don't have to look. If you don't want to look, you can always know, okay, I'm going to play a pass there. Or you might say that this guy's always got someone on him, so I can't play a pass him, I have to turn and do something else. So general scans are like building 80% of the picture in the game. And then we have decision scans, which are when the ball's a lot closer to us and we actually have a chance of getting the ball. So decision scans are more scans closer to obviously the ball when the ball's there, just to say, okay, now I'm actually going to make a decision, I want to make an action. What can I do? So you look around, see space and see players. So space, this is saying that, okay, we can maybe get touch into space, we can start dribbling into space. And if we see a player, we can say maybe I can pass to a player, or if you're close to the goal, The space could be I'm going to start dribbling and shoot, or maybe pass to someone so they can shoot. So that's our decision scans. What types of decisions are we going to be making? And then our critical scans is what that confirmation. Let's say our decision was to play this pass. So our critical scan is saying, is that pass still on? Is there pressure coming this way? If there's pressure, then maybe I have to go back or turn another way. If there's no pressure and that pass is still on, when I made my critical scan, I can play that pass into the area. So this is like a bit of a framework for you to take into a game. And maybe it might not work for you, maybe the tips are not perfectly suited to your ability, but I want you to try them out just to sort of see how it works. And just remember that you should always try and scan, but don't just scan for the sake of it. Don't just scan because I said scan. Try and actually look for things. Don't just look and then come back and say, I've not learned anything. You're scanning so you can actually learn a picture of the game. So if you cannot take anything from this video, the one thing I would say is when you're scanning, always try and ask yourself a question: what is going on around me? And try and develop that picture. So even when you practice by yourself, whether you're doing 1v1 training with a wall, or maybe you're practicing with a partner, even then, if there's no one there, just imagine, okay, what could be happening right now? So you get that habit. Because too many times, especially at the grassroots level, I've made the mistake a lot of times as well. You scan, but then you realize you're not actually looking for anything. You're just scanning just because you're meant to. And it becomes a bit more of a habit where you're not actually looking for anything. So when you go into a game, yes, you might scan, but you're not building that practice of actually looking for anything. So when you're in practice, look for two things: space and players. Is there space available? Are there players I can pass to? What's the general structure of the teams like? If you can develop that skills starting from very, very early, then once you get to academies, pro level, this wouldn't have to be explained. This is something that you just do. So that is it for this week's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you took something from this video. Let me know your feedback in the comments below, and we'll come back with a video next week.